Hi folks, Veston here, and today I'm going to be talking about an individual episode, because let's be honest, I talked a bit about some episodes of my cartoon theories that I really despise. So today I'll be talking about the reason why I hate the Dexter's Laboratory episode, The Old Switcharooms. What I should first of all mention about this episode is that this one is very severely offensive to me. You see, never in all my life have my parents punished me or my siblings for switching rooms or putting them in the doghouse. Punishments made by parents are mostly tame, like being grounded for a few days or a week, or not having your favorite meal for a while, and so forth. But eventually, when the punishment is over, you do realize you have learned something. In this episode, more so than any episode that happened before or after it, you really get the feeling that Dexter's dad is a terrible father, that you'd be grumpy and terrible too if you had to deal with this guy nonstop. It feels like as if they took the worst parts from all of Dexter's Dad episodes that aired prior and mashed them up without having any sense of realization of what made those work. This episode also gives us very conflicting vibes about how we're supposed to feel for Dexter in this episode. Now, of course, I'm sympathetic for him because the situation is terrible, and no matter how hard he tries to get back into his lab, it's honestly deserving at this point. But then we get the scene where he destroys Dee Dee's stuff in her room. You see, Dee Dee has been known for messing around Dexter's laboratory numerous times, and we've seen this a lot. But whenever she does this with Dexter, it's more cartoony. It's a lot more wacky. It's more of a crazy comedy antic. And you can tell that Dexter's never really damaged by anything she does. But here, when he trashes Dee Dee's room after failing to tiptoe back into his own bedroom, it just comes off as harsh. Very, very harsh. We get it, Dexter. You're worried about your lab, but what is destroying your sister's domain gonna do? This episode just makes Dexter very inconsistent. Listen, guys, you have to pick one or the other. Either you make him mean and unlikable so whenever misfortune does fall upon him it's justified, or you make him sympathetic and don't torture him as much. Heck, even if they kept the same amount of torture in, but Dexter ended up on top in the end, like, I don't know, maybe Dee Dee would stand up for herself and tell her dad that he's being too rough on Dexter and that she should get all the consequences, not his brother, then it would be warranted. This would make sense. Also, that doghouse punishment comes completely out of nowhere, just serves no purpose other than to give Dexter one more middle finger at the end of the episode. I don't think the episode was meant to be taken this way, but the entire thing comes off as Dexter's dad is playing a big game, and his son's just another punching bag to him. His feelings are never taken consideration, even when he tries to sneak back into his room. Dee Dee's an airhead, so fine, you could excuse that, but Dexter's dad is the main character's father. You can't have your main character's father this unlikable and stubborn. And trust me, it takes a lot for such a lovable main character it takes a lot for such a lovable character like Dexter's dad to turn so despicable and just alien. So I think I've proven this was a fails in the story department, and as far as the comedy goes, there just is none. I don't see any sort of attempts at jokes in this episode. In a better Dexter torture episode like Trap with a Vengeance, the torture actually comes from the plot, meaning that Dexter can't immediately get back home because Yanni wants revenge on him for cleaning up every night. It makes sense. This episode will just take any excuse, no matter how far-fetched, to cause Dexter emotional or physical pain. The episode doesn't even stand out that much when you think about it. Again, aside from the doghouse, which again comes out of nowhere and has very little to do with the plot of the story, it just doesn't have an identity outside of a tortured Dexter episode. I mean, I guess the identity that we're trying to go for is that Dexter's dad is a professional bowling player, but really, it's just at the very beginning. Nothing else is memorable about that part of the plot. There's the one where his dad wants Dexter to be a good sports player, there's the one where he wants his wife's muffins, and there's the one where Dexter actually gets payback at his father for pushing him in the pool too many times. Those are things that you remember about the specific Dexter's Dad episodes. This one, you just remember the fact that it's very mean-spirited and unforgivable. At least the other plots that had Dexter's dad as the focus had an identity, had something to latch onto. This one has nothing. Even if it was funny, it would just be mediocre and forgettable. A lot of bad episodes of cartoon shows do something out of character, or something dark, or promote bad morals. And aside from promoting the moral that you should really punish your children severely and not give them a second chance, this episode doesn't do any of that stuff. It's just bad in the traditional sense of not being funny and having punishment placed on the wrong character. It just simply doesn't understand the dichotomy of Dexter's Laboratory episode or dynamics between these characters. So it's just a bad experience overall, and definitely not an episode you ever want to watch again. And you know what the sad part is? With such a catchy title, this episode could have been good if Dexter was less paranoid and his dad wouldn't have been less angry. And what's worse is that this episode came on after one of my favorite episodes, Paper Route Bout. Wonderful. Do yourself a favor and only watch Paper Route Bout instead of the old Switcharooms. Until then, this is Veston signing off.